Hey everyone, welcome back to another video from the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the state of Michigan and continuing our swing state analysis series. So we're going to fill out the states that are swing states that we've already characterized. Arizona, lean Biden. We characterized Florida as a tilt Biden state, and we also discussed the state of Georgia and said it was a lean Trump state. So, Iowa as well, a tilt Trump state. So those are the states we discussed. Now Joe Biden is up to 253 electoral votes in our electoral map. Trump's still at 148. So now we're going to talk about the state of Michigan, which I do believe of these green states labeled as swing states, Michigan is one that does lean more to the left than, say, Wisconsin, Ohio, or even Minnesota, which did vote to the left of Michigan in 2016. So speaking of 2016, Michigan went red in 2016 for the first in 2016, and it was the first time that it had gone to a Republican presidential candidate since Ronald Reagan, and this is mostly due to the working class voting against Hillary Clinton. And remember, the working class had been primarily voting Democratic since Ronald Reagan. Bill Clinton was really the one, because Ronald Reagan, he had a lot of appeal to these voters, and he was able to switch them back from blue to red. But Bill Clinton also created a lot of jobs, particularly manufacturing jobs in this area, and they'd been voting blue since Bill Clinton. So that is essentially the story of your working class voter. So you have these voters voting for Democrats, and then Hillary Clinton came in. She's a very establishmentarian candidate. Didn't really make a play for the state of Michigan. She thought it was a pretty much a lock for her campaign, and for the most part, most people thought this was a safe blue state. Now, in 2016, I remember saying that it wasn't as safe as people thought, but I still wasn't going to go as far as saying Trump was the favorite to win there. He ended up winning it by an average of 2 votes per precinct, which is insane. But overall, at statewide level, he won it by a little more than 10,000 votes out of 5 million cast. So, first of all, there's going to be higher turnout. We could see 5.3 million votes being cast, maybe up to 5.5 million. My guess is it'll be 5.25 million, somewhere in that ballpark. Again, we're going to see a lot more votes being counted and cast. And remember, in 2016, there was a Republican governor who had the ability to discard absentee ballots or provisional ballots that he didn't like. And, you can play identity politics and say, well, minorities tend to vote blue. If this person's last name seems like they're a minority, I can just discard it and not count it. So now there's a Democratic governor in Michigan, and they can work that in their play, in their favor. So Michigan, I do think, it should be going to Joe Biden this time around. He was the auto bailout. He was a big part of the auto bailout, and that helped him that would help him in Michigan. Remember, when he was on the ballot, he won Michigan easily. I mean, I'll pull up the results. I mean, literally, in 2012, him and Barack Obama won the state of Michigan by around 10 points. 4 years prior, they won it by a safe margin of 16 points, even more than 16. So they have a good history of winning here. So I trust Joe Biden to win Michigan. That's part of the reason that the Democrats nominated him, because he was known as the most electable for the Rust Belt, which he is, him or Amy Klobuchar. Now, let's look at the polling data. So there was a poll that came out from a Republican internal poll called Trafalgar Group that was sampled before the debate, so that could have an impact on it. Trafalgar put Trump ahead by 1. And only 47% said they were going to vote for Trump for sure, so you still have a lot of undecideds. Whereas in this poll, NBC News put Biden ahead by 8, him crossing the 50% mark, something Hillary Clinton rarely did. Now, in 2016, Hillary Clinton, the average was that she would have 47% of the vote, which they were right on the mark for Hillary Clinton's numbers. They just, most of the undecideds swung to Trump. So Joe Biden right now is polling at an average of 49.2, which is a lot better than Hillary Clinton did, 2.2% better. Although, to be fair, Donald Trump is polling a bit better than he was the previous time. So I do think that Joe Biden is outperforming Clinton, but Trump is getting a bit more voters on board. So that's a fact, or at least in the polls they're coming out to say that they're voting for him more. But what I am going to say is that Hillary Clinton did have a more solid lead back in, April, whereas the opposite kind of happened to Biden. Back in March and April, he was only ahead by 4, and in fact, for a bit in August, he was only ahead by 3. But since then, he's expanded the lead to 7 points. In fact, in 538, which I trust a bit less than RCP, Joe Biden has an average lead of 7%. The latest poll came out from a BC rated poll, put Biden ahead by 9, but again, some of these Survey Monkey polls I don't really trust. But the best of the best polls are saying that Biden is ahead by 8, and this is a great poll. Marist College sampling thousands of registered voters, but Biden ahead by 9, and somewhat recently, again, right before the debate, so that could even swing in Biden's favor. So, Michigan, I'm going to go and characterize it as likely. Whoops. Now, a lot of people are going to say it's lean, and I could see it being lean, but I think that we are having a short memory, because, remember, Democrats... I can keep going and going and going. In 2008, Obama won it by 16. 2012, he won it by 10. In 2004, it was close, of course, but John Kerry still won it by a lean margin, to be fair. Al Gore did win it by a lean margin. But he won it by a likely margin. Never mind. But before that, Bill Clinton, he won this by 13 points. In the year before that, he ended up winning it by 7 points. So the Democrats, they've been able to win these elections in Michigan by decent amounts, and that's why I do think that it will go to Joe Biden this time around, probably by something like 6 points, maybe 5.5. But let's talk about, so we discussed the polling, of course, but let's now talk about the JHK presidential forecast. I pulled it up. They put Joe Biden ahead by 7 points. And Trump has really taken a hit. I mean, back in March, he had essentially a 1 in 4 chance a 4 in 10 chance at winning, or 2 in 5 chance at winning. But now he literally has a 1 in 10 chance at winning. So that's not good at all for him. And, this is that he won 2016, so you'd expect that he'd at least be very competitive here, whereas he's kind of, he has a better chance of losing South Carolina than he does at winning Michigan, or losing Alaska than he does. I mean, literally, I can prove this. Alaska, he has a 12% chance of losing it. He only has a 10% chance of winning Michigan. South Carolina, he has... Oh, okay, so Michigan and South Carolina are essentially the same thing. But, that's still... South Carolina should not even be that contested. Michigan should be contested. But let's talk about the midterms. The Democrats did very well. They essentially reflected their 2012 numbers when they won the midterms at a statewide level by 7%, something like that. They flipped the governor's mansion. Bill Schwett lost to Gretchen Whitmer by nearly 10%. That was a flip. In 2014, Rick Snyder, who actually did endorse Joe Biden for president, he was the incumbent Republican. And in the Senate election, this was the closest of the bunch that we're going to look at. John James came within 7 points of beating, or within 8 points of beating Debbie Stabenow, who was a popular incumbent. Then the previous time around, she'd won easily. She'd won by 20 points. So Debbie Stabenow, it's no small feat making that a close race with such a popular incumbent, so I give John James credit. However, you have to win at some point, and he just wasn't able to do that, and he still lost at a statewide level by a decent margin. So that's the reason why, those reasons why I do think that Joe Biden will win Michigan. There are some that I did not include. Again, I mentioned the auto bailout, plus the fact that Trump has started to withdraw ads from Michigan, and again, he doesn't need Michigan if he can hold on to Wisconsin or Pennsylvania. He doesn't need Michigan if he can flip, Nevada and New Hampshire. So, again, it's subjective, but Michigan is a very important state for both candidates. Michigan, though, I don't see a scenario where Biden loses Michigan and wins the presidency unless he wins Florida. So, Michigan, however, is a safer bet for him than Florida, as you can see. So, again, guys, thanks for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow my Twitter. Check out all the links in the description, and I'll see you all in the next one. By the way, face reveal is on Wednesday, 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern. Thank you all, and good day.